We did it.
Nice to see you, my dear. How are you?
Hello.
Can you hear me well?
Oh.
Hi, Lenny. Oh, sweetie pie.
Hey guys.
How is everything?
Oh, good. She's 1 month old now.
She looks like she's much bigger than when she was born, huh? She's doing really well.
Is her hair longer? She had
Yeah.
was born.
And breastfeeding is going okay?
Yeah. I might have to do it right now. What?
Whatever you need to do, right? I think we have, a lot of moms that will be joining us. So this is it, right? You're like a month. Are you even a month postpartum? 1 month, right?
She was born the 31st. So yeah, like a month and a little bit. A month, yeah, in a week.
That's
Yes.
crazy. Yeah, thank you for joining today. I think that being a witness of your births was just, amazing and an honor. And I would love for you to share with other moms, like how that process was for you, picking a home birth. I think a lot of people are curious about why people go for home births. I had questions around like how you prepared. So
Yeah. So I started preparing over 3 years ago now because
right.
I got with Mika, my first daughter. She's 2.5 now, over 2.5. So first I never really thought about having a home birth, and then I got pregnant with Mika, and it was just like there wasn't even another option, you know. So first things first was get my husband on board. First, so I went to a doctor in Brazil. I will be at the time, and she talked me out of it. Talked us
I remember that, yes.
and saying, all kinds of things. And then when I got home, I was still like
Things that were kind of like scary, right? Kind of like feeding
yeah.
you fear, right?
I mean, yeah, I didn't like it. I didn't like what she said. I'm sure it would make a lot of women feel safe, but I didn't. So it's very particular having a home birth. It's really personal. Um, so when she said it, she said all those things trying to scare me, trying to talk me out of it. And I just, at the time I just agreed because I didn't know any better to be able to talk to her,
Right.
to discuss. I didn't know. So, but I still knew. All I knew was I still didn't want to have a baby in the hospital.
Right. Your intuition was telling you that it just wasn't right for you.
It wasn't right for me. If I could, I kept saying, if I'm healthy and the baby's healthy, I still want to go through it. So, so I so I had to get my husband on board because he was like really like saying, I don't think it's safe or whatever because she really scared us. So we had to start researching and we watching documentaries. Well, it was not hard to convince him, huh?
No, and now I think he's like one of the best advocates for home births. I mean, and he's really hands-on and doing a great job. So
Not difficult. It was really not. He watched The Business of Being Born.
mm-hmm.
He's like, okay, I get it. And then we started researching more and more, and I started finding a midwife and really quite early in my pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
And I found you. It was quite early, right, when we started.
Yeah. Yes, I remember.
Yeah, we had to like spread out the classes, so it was like closer for when I was closer to term.
Mm-hmm.
And then we really knew. By the end, he was more convinced than me. He was feeling more secure than I was. And
I think to a certain extent, like it's normal to have like those doubts kind of creep up as you get closer, especially first time around, but also with a second baby, right? I think it's normal, right?
it's normal to to start like, I don't want to say doubting yourself, because we still go through. It's just like raising questions and stuff like that. It's so normal to feel like that. And um, every time I did feel like that, he was like, everything's okay. Like, it's fine. You're fine. You're so healthy. Baby's fine. Like, why are you even thinking about this? And everything's fine. Um, I guess like as a mom, you just think of everything, right?
Right.
Even before the baby is born. So
And it's probably better to be this way than to kind of ignore what comes up and try to like brush it under the rug and not address it, right?
yeah, no, I'm very hands-on when it comes to like, I want to know everything
Mm-hmm.
I can do to make this easy, this easier, and I want to feel safe and I want to feel good. So I found you, and it, all the information that we had, apart from being just super interesting, because we don't learn this stuff anywhere. And it's, which is crazy, because we're women. Almost everybody gives birth and gets pregnant, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the world. Practically. We don't know anything. So
It's so always kind of mind-boggling. And I don't know what it's like in Brazil. I mean, in France, they do teach us quite a few things, but it's more around like how can you avoid to get pregnant, right? It's never about, okay, what actually happens,
yeah,
and it becomes a big learning curve for most people, right?
yeah. So and it's your own body too. What happens to it when you want to have a natural birth, but if you want to have a birth with epidural or a C-section, if that's what you choose, there's nothing wrong with it, but you just have to
Right.
know.
Yeah,
And
there's still a lot to learn for people who like decide to go a different route other than a home birth. Yeah.
have all the information about having a natural birth and a C-section, and you still want to go C-section, then at least you know what you're missing, like what you could have, and have that, which is sad. They don't get to make this choice. It's made for them. A lot of women, they get doctors that like scare them into having what they feel
Right.
for them, and it takes away this power from you, to choose, be able to choose.
Right.
Once you know, I feel like once you know what kind of birth you could have, it's really hard to go back.
Right. Right. And you had, two positive home births,
I did.
right? You didn't have to transfer, and everything kind of went really well, right? So that's also something to take in consideration, like for people that are watching today, like, of course there's risks in a hospital birth, there's risks in a home birth, but to you and Mihai being at home and with your midwife and your doula the first time around, it felt best, right?
It felt right, and it's also like a lot of people think when we have home births, they also don't know how it is, and the first people's mind, it's, oh my gosh, she did it by herself, or like nobody was there, or she didn't have people watching out for her, and it's quite the opposite. They are the team that you choose to be home with you. It's so important, and they they're so good at reading a woman in labor and knowing if anything is going wrong,
Right.
or it's out of curve.
Yeah, that's what I like about home births too. Obviously being a doula, I've been in different scenarios. I had my own experience with Riley, but I like the idea, and I worked with a midwife as well. I like the idea of having someone that's a little bit like in the back, right? That's more of an observer and just allowing you that space to just be in your process. Whereas I think sometimes in a hospital, this can be a little bit disturbed just because people come in and and there's more interactions. Whereas in a home birth, like I remember she was monitoring the baby, but you didn't have to move. You didn't have to accommodate the midwife, right? They were working around you, which I think is also a great.
And and there, and it's just so respectful. It's always like, can I touch you? Can I?
Mhm.
They always ask, and it's which is also taken away from you if you have a birth in a hospital where there's protocols to be followed. It's not
Right.
even protocols, and I get it, you know, and it's just there's this freedom that is taken away from you. It's so nice to be able to control the situation, you know, to be able to do what you want and to say no if you know or
Right. Absolutely.
ah,
So
and
I had, I had some questions about like what was the most helpful for you during the birth? Like what was the most helpful?
it kind of all blends in because a lot of things that I learned they were helpful in a stage of the birth, right?
Right.
They were in every stage. Like doing hypnobirthing, I mean, hypnobirthing was everything for me and my husband. I'm a big advocate for it because it made it made my two births the way they were so calm because apart from giving us all the information we needed to learn about my body and he needed to learn also
Mhm.
we have the exercises, right? Breathing exercises and the audios, and it all came in hand. It all like came in hand in different times. So it really touched all the areas of the birth. You know, the hardest part for me giving birth is when you reach the end, right? I feel like it's a lot. It's like that to a lot of women where you're like from 7 centimeters to 9, and it's like you
Transition, right?
transition. You don't think you can do it. My first birth, it's like it was fine. You know, I was dilating, and then 7 centimeters, okay, and then things started getting real, and it hurts, and you think you can't do it because it's not only like a physical pain. It's emotional too. It's really easy to panic,
Right.
know what's going on, but because I knew what was going on, I reached I reached a limit. I reached the limit of my pain, and I knew she was coming out. Right? It was like, well, I don't think I can take more than this. Then if you don't think you can get more than this, it's probably not. You're not gonna have to.
Exactly, right? Exactly. That's like when you hit the wall and your mind is just giving you all those messages are like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. But there's that other side where suddenly like the baby starts to move down and it's like the sensations are different then.
And for some women, it takes longer than others, which is
Right.
important too. You know, not every birth is the same. And my first one, I was in transition for longer than my second,
Right.
but I got lucky.
I'm laughing because the second was really fast, but yes.
When I get to my second because it was really my first one was a little longer, so I had time to think. I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
so birth, I am in this stage, and they
Yeah.
all through hypnobirthing really helped on my first birth because it was a little longer, so I had time to, you know, talk me out of get like panicking. So I had to, you know, use those things that I learned to keep calm, and I did. It was great. It was really great.
And other than your own kind of internal dialogue of like reassuring yourself that you were probably in transition and this was going to be over soon, was there something else from your birth team, like from Mihai or from the midwife, that helped you also kind of like ground yourself and just be like, okay, was
Yeah,
there anything else?
one I feel even because even if it was faster, I feel like I felt more helped by the team. Like I needed more help than
Mm-hmm.
my, which is I don't know why, but
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
first one things happened more smoothly. Like it was longer, but it was just more smooth. I knew what you know what was going on when I my limit. I was like, I remember being like, how much longer? And everyone was just like, how, as long as it needs to be. And um,
Which
then I,
is not usually the thing that you want to hear when you're in the middle of transition, where people are like, oh, this could go on for another few hours. And you're like, no, I don't think so.
but also knew the answer. But you say it, right? You say it anyway because it's hard to
Yeah,
explain.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You just want, maybe they know. Maybe they, but my first birth with Mika was there the whole time. I barely had my eyes open. I was just so closed eyes and I was just peeking. And sometimes everyone was there looking so calm. Everything was great. You know, towards the end, they let me choose a position that I wanted to birth. You want to try this? You want to try that? And it was great. On my second birth, I dilated too quick. It was, if there's such a thing, because you pray for it. You're like, oh, I hope I dilate really quickly. And when it happens, you out of your body because you can feel in real life yourself dilating, and it's because you know what's going on. You know you're not like actually dying. It's quite crazy. It's a crazy magical.
A crazy experience. Yeah, yeah.
This I can do, like, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe I'm feeling this. I could feel her dilating and her coming down, and it's super intense. It's super intense. So um I was really happy to have my team there. Felt I felt more grounded with everyone there. Like I interacted more with you and the midwife. I asked more questions.
Yes.
I made more noise. I Everything was more and quicker. So the second time around, I felt like I needed more help because everything happened so quick. I didn't have time to,
Get in that. Yeah.
yeah, that flow where I had time to think a little bit and like, okay, so this is happening now. I was in transition the whole time, and um, yeah, it was crazy. She was a big too. She was a big baby too, so I had to push harder. Everything was just more,
Mm-hmm.
but it was quicker, so I wasn't tired.
Right.
Great. Sometimes after a long birth, many women are tired. So because it was 2 hours, 2 hours of active birth, I wasn't tired. I was I had so much energy.
Yeah, I remember after you were ready, like to start the day, I was like, maybe we rest a little bit.
Help on the second, like emotional support,
Mm-hmm.
the second one, um, because everything happened so fast. It was hard to think, but I still remained calm because I knew this was gonna happen. I also knew faster. I knew it was gonna be more intense, and it was true what they say.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's an experience. It was bigger. I didn't tear. Nothing
Yeah.
happened.
And what was also kind of amazing, and in the classes, I often get those questions around like pushing. People expect that, because of everything they're told, that they're not going to know when to push or how to push, right? Um, and, I think that was amazing and a great example of that. Like, because you stayed very calm and really focused, and it wasn't that obvious that you were pushing, which I think that's what hypnobirthing kind of talks about when they talk about like the breathing down. um, and I think it's important for people to know that you don't need to be actively opening your legs up and holding your breath, and
Like,
right,
oh,
right.
it doesn't. It's not necessary. If you let your body do, you just help it a little bit, But you don't have to push hard. Where I see a lot of women telling. Actually, yesterday a friend of mine told me that she got popped all these veins on her face from pushing.
Oh,
Um, she had a epidural so she couldn't feel it. So she just pushed
Mm-hmm.
from her face, I guess. All this vein. So when you don't have anesthesia, you know how to push and where to push and when to.
And you
Also,
also knew, when you mentioned it, you knew when to stop.
yeah,
Right? And I think that's why that there was an intact perineum, because you knew when to stop.
yeah, I did, and it's super crazy because with my first birth, I didn't really push. I didn't really push. I breathed her down. I had that time and moment to just breathe her down, and wait for her to come out on her by herself. Because my husband was looking at everything, and he's like, if you keep pushing, you might tear. I can see you on. So he's like, maybe not push. Okay, I'm gonna try. And it was really helpful that he said that, because he reminded me that I didn't need to push. She was there. She just needed her time to come out.
Yeah.
And I didn't tear, and she came out eventually, because they do. There's nothing you can do. It's gonna.
Right.
But on my second one, I guess because I wanted it to go to happen, and
You want it to be done, yeah.
done exactly. I did push, but it was very aware pushing, where every time I went in a certain position, I could feel her head coming a little more, and then I would sit down, and then I'll get up, and I'll push a little more, and I could feel her head, and it feels insane. Like, I'm gonna do this, and I did it maybe a couple of times, maybe 4 or 5 times, and she was out, and I could feel her, like, actually going through the canal, which is it's something. I hope I remember this. You almost start to put, and I hope I remember it, because it's something. And so my second one, it's when I actually felt like I pushed more. Maybe because she was a bit bigger too. She just needed that little. She was gonna come out.
Right.
She's not gonna stay in there, but maybe she would take longer if I didn't.
Yeah, and also this idea of like, well, and again, like the pushing, even the first time, didn't sound like it was too long or anything, but like this idea, people tell women like, you're gonna be too tired to push.
Yeah.
Right? Which is, and I always tell people in the classes, like, you get adrenaline in this phase. So even though in transition you may be like in la la land, then suddenly with like the pushing, everything is just focused on like just going down there, and your body helps you, right?
Oh my God, yeah. If nobody is there in your ear, because I feel like a lot of people base it on movies where everyone's like push, push. It doesn't happen like that.
I mean, in the hospital they do.
They do?
Yes. It really depends on who you work with, but yes, some doctors just kind of go in full on cheering mode, and they're like, push, 1, 2, 3. Yeah. And I always feel like when they start to do that, I'm like, okay, I just focus on my client and just breathe and just like have a look at me. And yeah, that's what people do.
That wasn't me, okay? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Yeah. I can't imagine, because it's such a moment where you almost want to hide.
Yes.
Oh, and to have people screaming in your ear, push, it's I mean, I'm sure some people like it. I don't know. I just didn't live. I just didn't live it, so I can't relate.
That's interesting. Like talking about that, it brings me back to Riley's birth, because so at the end she was a little bit stuck, right? And I'd been pushing actually for a long time. And so they transferred me to the OR. And I remember, because I've only ever attended births in the US and in the UK, like I expected them to count. Like in my mind, I was like, okay, I gotta get her out, otherwise I'm gonna have a cesarean. So, and they were doing the vacuum, and I was like, okay, I have to push, like I have, and nobody was counting. And I was shocked. I was like, why is no one counting my pushing? It was really funny. So I remember looking at Aaron and I was like, okay, you got to count. And he just counted for me. And this is how, you know, because I was used to like doing that. And that's what I needed to do at the moment. But it was really funny that I expected everybody to just like help me push.
Pushing with um, anesthesia, do you feel it happening?
So my experience that I didn't feel anything at the time because they, you know, I'd been pushing for like 3 hours already. So when they decided to do the vacuum, they did it right after they gave me the epidural. So I had that initial dose and I was completely numb.
Right, right.
So yes, that's why I needed the counting, right?
Yeah.
To kind of like get a sense of what I was doing.
That's how hypnobirthing can help so much when women are pushing for a long, or like in, you know, trying
Yeah.
to get the last stage where trying to get the baby out for a long time. It can be frustrating, right?
Yeah.
Because you're like fully dilated,
Right.
already went through all, and you're just trying to get a baby out, and it can be so frustrating. And I can see how the hypnobirthing, I mean, the audios, I love the audios, and they I put it on speaker.
Right.
How long you got there, or when did you get, when you got there, it was still playing?
Maybe.
No, but I had it in the beginning for a long time, and it really helped me remember what was happening, because it was so intense. One contraction after the other, you know, like so intense. It really helped me um, remember, you know, what was going on, and how I could be calm because there's nothing to worry about, and because the pain can feel so intense that it can take you places. So
Right. You said like this idea, like it's easy to panic, right? It's easy to kind of go on the other side.
so easy to panic, and if you're not in the right environment and the right,
Mhm.
it's so easy. It's so easy. And once you do, it's so hard to come down. It's so easy to panic and so hard to come down. So you just have to prepare yourself to not even go there, because in the end the baby's gonna come out one way or another. If you have to transfer or not transfer, or if you
Right.
have to take anesthesia or not, or is it gonna take long or short, it's gonna come out at some point. So
Yeah, because that was my experience too, actually. You know, like in the moment I was calm, I was focused, and I always say, like, you know, in the classes, like I never doubted that she was not going to come out. Like I never had that thought that she was not going to come out. Like, you know, and I think just having that just
yeah,
also kept me calm and focused and getting the job done because, you know, and again, like being wheeled into the OR and stuff, my husband not being there, I could have panicked, but I was very focused and I was like, okay, that's the plan B, right? That's what we're doing now. And this is, um, and, um,
and this
and
is
it worked out, you know?
mentally to go through. You must, you know, like one of the things that I did in your fear release workshop
Mhm.
is write down all my fears, something that I hadn't done before on this birth. And for some reason, I had a couple of fears on this birth because they kept saying she was gonna be too big, right? And I mean, she was a big baby. I mean, me and my husband were big people, so like she was a big baby. But it was in my head for a long time uh, during my pregnancy. It was for other reasons too, but I'm like, is she gonna be too big for me to birth? Is she gonna be too big? And the fear release workshop was great because I I'm like, I'm not just gonna keep thinking it. I'm gonna do something about it because it's getting in the way,
Right.
getting in the way, and it doesn't have to, because she's not gonna be too big. My body is not gonna make a baby that's too big for me to birth. And if it does, there are options, right? Like, I'm out big. And if transferring, it's
Where
a then it's an option. if she's too big, it's not like she's gonna be stuck in there because she's too big. So it's great to have to know how to talk yourself out of these thoughts.
And then also like being able to talk to your midwife and just ask her all the questions, like what about this and what about that, and that's also helpful because, you know, obviously the last thing she wants is a transfer for you know, the women she works with. So
And to trust her completely, where if she really did think
right,
it was a big baby, you know, it would be, I don't know, maybe talk about it, but she was sure she was. And that also gave me, you know, so yeah, you have to pick your team right, and you have to prepare. You have to prepare for birth. And like I said, I'm a big advocate for hypnobirthing for a lot of reasons, but the information that it gives, it's it's priceless. And it's something to take for your life too. You know, not just birthing, not
yeah,
just.
the calm breathing is helpful now, right? Like at night when you have to feed often, and yeah, and you know, like I wanted to ask people if anyone has any questions, if you want to put it in the comments now, but also like if you had like any tips being a mom of two, right? What have you found that's like what are you trying to prioritize now, like in your daily life with Mika and with Lenny, and like how are you
One
handling it all?
learn to do is just ask. I know it sounds like everybody says that, but ask for help. But
Yeah.
really, my closest friends, I'm like, you need to come speak. Gotta come play with her, take her to the park. Um, yeah, come cook for me.
Mhm.
You know, and it's people do it with a smile on their face because everybody wants to help.
Yeah.
I went to New York City 3 days ago with Lenny,
Yeah.
and just me and her in the stroller, and I took the train, and everyone was like, "Okay, but you have the train and the stroller and the baby and the New York, the subway." I was telling my husband how I came home, and then I would be walking near the stairs of the subway. I'm like, "Hi, can you help me quickly?" Just like,
Yeah.
and like asking if they could. I'm like, "Can you just pick up the stroller and like help me down?" And people do it. If you just ask. And
You just have to be very like practical and know exactly what you need, right?
yeah, it's like, here now it's COVID times, but like if I could, I would just be like, "Here, can you just help me quickly? I'm just gonna."
Right.
That now, which is sad, would be even more helpful. Like, just hold here quickly. I'll be back in like 3 hours. She just fed. It's fine. But help, it's for your friends or your family. Like our family is in here, so um, my closest friends that have been coming here, and I know they're safe, and most of them have been vaccinated. It, um, actually right now, actually right now, while we're doing this, Mika is downstairs with my best friend, and they're playing. I can hear them. And they came, and she went to the market, and she came here, and they're cooking.
Right. That's amazing. Yes,
The
surrounding yourself. So yeah, for the people that, you know, don't have family around, like find like some good friends that can support you, make sure like meals are taken care of, right?
and if not, you just have to be flexible.
Yeah.
Like, holding me back in the beginning was like trying to do everything. Play with Mika, give them baths every day, like, live properly, just keep them, with their hair brushed, with Mika's hair brush, and a braid, and clean clothes, and it was just so. So when I decided to be more flexible,
Hmm.
you know, maybe they watch a little over screen times just so I can like sit and have a tea or sleep or this or that, or maybe she doesn't need her hair brushed like today. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow.
Right. Right, right, right.
Just be flexible as long as they're you're you're good, your patient levels are good, then they're happy. They don't care if you don't brush their hair, or you know, it's just little things like that. Oh, you have a hiccup.
Yeah, less pressure and more.
More flexibility, really.
Yeah.
Just be more flexible. Do things just to make it easier, so you can relax. So you don't do feel like you can't do everything, because it's not a great feeling, especially born. So when you let things just go wild a little bit, um, and things get done, they are happy. They go to bed, they wake up, and then you're like, oh,
The important things get done. The rest is just superficial and can just
yeah. So just because you don't have the options of friends and family and meals and all that, just be flexible. You will get your mind. Oh, you have a hiccup. I know. Because it will just make the day easier for you.
Yeah.
You go to bed feeling like you had a successful day with your kids,
Yeah, I think my goal, like postpartum, and again, I only have Riley, was that I'm gonna get like one thing done today, right? That's like not baby related. And then eventually, once I felt that this was something that could happen easily, then I added, and then I was like, okay, like 3 things, and that's all, right? I was like, I'm just gonna do those 3 things outside of like baby care, and that felt good because I still felt like by doing those things, I had a little bit of me time, even though it may just have been like take a shower. But yeah, I think that's important, like slowing things down and being flexible. That's great advice.
Yeah, flexible is my new thing. And if I think like I have to do something, I'm like, just, it's fine.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to go your way. I feel like we always try to get things done our way.
Right.
Me and I'm learning not to.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. It's wild, and I know support each other. And if anybody has ever questions about
There's a question, but it's in Portuguese. Or
cara,
maybe not a question, just a...
a gente tá falando em inglês, né? A gente faz uma em português. Eu faço uma. Eu vou fazer uma com a minha cunhada um dia em português, só falando disso para o pessoal brasileiro. E vai me mandando as perguntas que eu vou guardando, e aí eu combino de fazer com ela e respondo todas. É muito importante todo mundo conversar sobre isso, sobre o parto e a maternidade. Se é, né, do seu interesse, é muito pessoal tudo, mas se a gente for conversando e dividindo histórias, que é o que eu mais faço com as minhas amigas, a gente consegue se ajudar, né? Consegue se sentir bem e tal. Então, podem mandar perguntas que eu tento fazer uma live em português logo mais. I was just saying because she couldn't understand that I will try to do a live in Portuguese soon about it too.
Yeah, that's amazing. Portuguese, it's interesting. I always think that I can understand because of the Latin roots, and then I actually don't understand anything. I always think like maybe it's a bit like Italian and Spanish, and no, I don't.
It's a full language, and we talk too fast and things.
You do talk fast, but people say that about French people too, so,
And it depends on the accent too. I feel like I talk about the accent a lot too. But it's good. I told her to like send some questions, and if ever anybody has questions for me, obviously for you.
Yeah, they can use DMs and find us on the profile.
Yeah, I have to answer more stuff, if anybody thinks of it.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Of course. I'm always here. I have to change her poop now.
Yep. Yeah, I'm sure it's about that time. So big hugs to everyone, and I'll see you very soon. Bye.